You have a bunch of kids in the car. How many kids? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Who are these kids to you?
This is my friend.
Why's your zipper or your buttons down on your crotch?
Well, I probably just forgot.
Got a quick question for you. Do you got any traumatic brain injuries?
Possibly. I mean, I don't know. Maybe, yeah, possibly.
What's that?
Yeah, possible.
When the cops pulled over 41-year-old Jeremy Guthrie for drunk driving, they did not expect anything like this to happen. There are few crimes worse than kidnapping a child and violating them. Yet, Guthrie did this at least half a dozen times. And the story gets even darker. This is the full, shocking story of Jeremy Guthrie's arrest and all the events that led up to it. It was July 5th, 2022, a few hours after midnight in Albuquerque, New Mexico. As always, the New Mexico State Patrol was driving around looking for any unusual business. With the streets empty, there are lots of people speeding, and DUI cases are more frequent at night too. That night, 2 officers noticed something unusual on Interstate 25. This car was swerving in and out of lanes, so they continued to follow the truck for a few minutes. Perhaps this was an honest mistake. But as the truck continued to swerve, so far as the officers were concerned, this driver was probably drunk. They had to pull him over. However, the officers had no idea how this horrific night would develop. This was much, much worse than a simple DUI.
Hey there.
Hello.
How are you?
All right.
Just all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Shoot driver license?
The man stalled for several seconds, but the cop saw his wallet and called him out for it.
There's your wallet right there between your legs.
Sorry. Just a little bit nervous.
So was I. The way you're driving?
This is 41-year-old Jeremy Guthrie. As one officer looked at his ID, the passenger next to Jeremy was heard saying something quietly.
You mentioned that you were nervous? Right. I was nervous while I was behind you driving down I-40. You were in lane number 1. At times, you went all the way from lane number 1 all the way over. When you merged on from westbound 40 to northbound 25, you took that curve way too fast.
I did. I'm sorry.
I thought you were going to crash.
No, I don't.
The officer then addressed the elephant in the room. There was a young girl next to Jeremy in the passenger seat and several more kids in the back seat. What was up with that this late at night?
You have a bunch of kids in the car. How many kids? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Who are these kids to you?
This is my friend.
That's your friend?
Yeah.
How old's your friend?
18.
How creepy is that? Who has a bunch of kids as friends and drives them around at night drunk? Also, the girl next to Jeremy was clearly not 18.
Huh? That girl's not 18?
Yeah.
No, she's not.
No, I don't think she is.
That girl's not 18. Trust me. She don't look 18. Ma'am, how old are you? I didn't ask you your name. I asked you how old you were.
The girl wasn't heard talking. Was she too scared of Jeremy to talk? Had he instructed her to lie about her age? Finally, the officer urged Jeremy to come out of the car and talk to the police while the kids stayed in the car. Jeremy stepped out, but there was another surprise, if you can call it that.
Why's your zipper or your buttons down on your crotch?
Well, I probably just forgot.
Okay. Come back here.
Sheesh. Even as he was explaining himself, he did not sound convincing.
Yeah. I mean, I had to take it like a and
He was just as convincing when the cop asked him how much he'd drunk that night.
I'm good.
Okay. Jeremy, how much you had to drink tonight?
I haven't had anything to drink.
Okay, I'm asking you again. Okay, you can barely stand still. Your speech is slurred. I've never heard you speak.
And yet, Jeremy kept denying he'd had any drinks. Even when the officer asked him why his breath smelled strongly of alcohol, he seemed short of an answer.
Explain that odor.
Well, I don't even know. I mean, yeah. I mean, I haven't had anything to drink.
When did you last drink?
Like, probably. It's been a little while.
Like an hour?
I would say it's more than
Like maybe 2,
Yeah.
roughly? Okay,
Like 2 hours.
that's fair.
Finally, there was an admission, but that was far from the end of the night. The officer realized he was gonna have to play Jeremy to get to the bottom of what he was up to. He even told him directly he'd played him because Jeremy was lying to him.
You said I hadn't been drinking, and then I kind of played you, said, was it an hour ago? Like, no, longer. 2 hours? Yeah.
As you guys can see, this officer is super direct with Jeremy. Confrontation is the only way to deal with a drunk person who lies compulsively. And the officer hasn't forgotten about the kids at this point. He knows he's gonna have to do much more direct confrontation to push Jeremy to confess.
All those people in the car, who are they?
They're just my friends. I mean,
Do you normally hang out with people who are young?
Here's the thing. Jeremy was super drunk. Perhaps if the cops had caught him any other night and he was sober, he could devise a better lie to cover his awful crimes. But he probably hadn't thought of a better story than he had 6 underage friends. And now he couldn't really keep the story straight.
How old are you?
I'm 41.
Yeah. 41-year-olds are not supposed to hang out with young teens in the dead of the night. Right around this time, the officer went to get the 6 kids out of Jeremy's truck. It's unclear what the kids said to the officer at that time, but you could see the disappointed look on Jeremy's face as he watched his friends getting rescued. You guys, it's difficult to watch. Jeremy felt like he'd lost a fight, but these children had been through hell. For them, this was the first breath of fresh air after months of imprisonment, torture, and abuse of every kind imaginable. By now, more officers had turned up.
I'm gonna ask you a little bit about what you had to drink tonight. Where did you have your last drink?
It's been about 3 hours.
As he was trying to explain himself, the officer noticed Jeremy kept putting his hands in his pockets. When he got patted down, he discovered yet another surprise.
I'm gonna pat you down real quick, okay, bro? Just for weapons. Okay, don't put your hand in that pocket again. I know you got a knife right there. I'm gonna actually take it out.
Yep, he even had a weapon on him. Did he really think he could use it on a cop and escape? After the cop put the knife away, he asked Jeremy where he drank that night.
I was just at my house.
You're at your house? You're coming from is your house?
Yeah.
Yeah? So all these people were coming from your house?
No, we went to go pick somebody up.
So who did he pick up?
They weren't there.
Oh, okay. So now where were you guys headed?
We're headed back to the house.
Oh, back to your house. Where do you live, man?
Right here in the North Park.
With a lot of patience, this officer got Jeremy to admit he'd had 3 12-ounce beers earlier at his house. Well, it's hard to believe that's all he had, considering how he was speaking, but it was a good enough excuse for the officer to invite him to take a sobriety test.
So just to make sure that you're okay to drive, okay, would you mind doing a couple of field sobriety tests just to make sure?
Yeah.
Yeah? You would mind, or you would want to do them?
What's it?
Do you mind, or would you want to do them? Do you want to do them? Yes or no?
I don't really want to.
You don't want to do them?
No, I don't want to.
Okay, I'm just gonna let you know if you don't do the test, I'm gonna have to place you under arrest. Do you want to do the test?
All right, well, let's do this test.
Jeremy walked to the officer's car and acted cooperatively, but when the cop asked him about potential brain injuries, he appeared to lie again to get out of doing the test.
Got a quick question for you. Do you got any traumatic brain injuries?
Possibly. I mean, I don't know. Maybe, yeah, possibly.
What's that?
Yeah, possible.
Possibly? Why do you say possibly? It'd be a yes or a no.
But how do you know?
You would have to go to the doctor.
How would you know such things?
The doctor would tell you.
Jeremy said he'd never been to a doctor or hit his head in a serious accident, so it would be a no, but he insisted on possibly. Even when the cop asked him if he had trouble walking and keeping his balance, he gave the same answer.
Okay, you're not helping yourself at all. Okay.
After a cumbersome 10 minutes, Jeremy finally agreed to do what the officer asked him to do. Walk in a straight line, heel to toe, for 9 steps, and then back again.
Misses heel to toe. Steps off line. Misses heel to toe. Misses heel to toe. Misses heel to toe. Improper turn.
He couldn't do one step right, and he couldn't stop at 9 on his way back. Yeah, he hadn't drunk 3 12-ounce beers. When he was asked to balance on one foot and count, it got even worse.
Sways. Puts foot down. Uses arms for balance. Started over the numbers.
517 seconds. I come 517.
Sways. Puts foot down.
Jeremy then asked for the test to stop, and the officers obliged. However, the interrogation was not over. An arrest was pending.
So, what's your highest level of education, man?
Well, I mean, I have a,
You have what?
I have a college degree.
Since he had a college degree, the officer asked, could he recite the alphabet from the letter H to the letter S?
I mean, I don't know. It's kind of awkward, really,
Okay.
because
You said you know the alphabet.
Why must everything be so hard with this man?
the H. Yeah, I mean, I can do the letter H. Can you just give me an example, please?
I'm not going to give you an example. It's the alphabet, man. You said you know the alphabet. You have a college degree. It should be fairly simple.
At this point, the first officer arrived, and he had to listen to Jeremy fail to count down from 62 to 47.
61, 60. 49.
Wow. The test was over though. His monumental failure at the sobriety test was enough to put him under arrest for driving while intoxicated, or DWI, which is the same as DUI.
All right, so you're going to be placed under arrest for DWI, okay?
Don't forget his phone.
Okay.
I'll
Yeah.
put it.
Did you guys notice how long it actually took to arrest him for driving while drunk? Imagine how long the investigation was regarding the children in his car.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer and have him or her present with you while you're being questioned. Do you understand each of these rights as I've explained to you?
Sorry, could you say that again?
Yes or no?
Okay.
Yes or no?
No.
Yeah? Okay.
Jeremy Guthrie failed each and every single alcohol test he took that night, including breath alcohol test he took after he was handcuffed. He was charged and taken to jail that night. The first thing that was revealed about the 6 children in his car was that Jeremy had given alcohol to them too. So 6 counts of child by endangerment were added to his DWI charge. The judge said the mere fact that a defendant was driving a vehicle in which a child was a passenger while the defendant was intoxicated, standing alone is sufficient as a matter of law to support a conviction for child abuse by endangerment. But it gets worse. A day after his initial arrest, Jeremy appeared before a judge. His defense team argued that the child abuse charges are too harsh and shouldn't stand. Although the judge didn't agree, he released Jeremy on bail pending his following hearing. I'll go ahead and follow the PSA and release you on your recognizance. However, Jeremy wouldn't get to be released. As he was sitting in jail, the investigation around the 6 children was progressing, and some truly disturbing things came to light those few days. Remember that girl in the front passenger seat who Jeremy insisted was 18 years old? She was 13. She and her twin sister had been violated by Jeremy repeatedly over the course of 10 months. About a year before the arrest, the twin sisters met Jeremy through Snapchat. They formed a friendship, but the poor girls had no idea who was behind the cute avatar. And while they met him in real life, Jeremy manipulated them into doing his bidding, threatening them with various lies if they went ahead and told their families about him. He kept them in a state of fear and paralysis. They could not say no to him. The girl in the front passenger seat even got pregnant as a result of his horrific abuse. She would later go on to have a miscarriage. All of this at the age of 12. The twins were questioned by the police shortly after they were rescued that night. They were obviously in shock and afraid of what would happen if Jeremy knew they were telling on him. But they soon understood nothing and no one could hurt them anymore. They were by their family's side and they had the police's support. So they started talking. They shared their entire story, and it turns out there was a third girl who was being violated by Jeremy. Something else was revealed. Jeremy was an avid meth user. So much for those 12-ounce beers. He also consumed white powder on a regular basis and had several guns at his home. Not only did he consume meth in front of these poor children, but he kept talking about how he wanted to get the girl pregnant again. The girl's grandmother said,
"It makes me sick. I'm livid to what he did to my granddaughters, and he's just a very, very sick person."
And so Jeremy Guthrie was charged with 6 counts of sexual abuse of a minor and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Imagine the uproar this case caused in Albuquerque. There were 5 families now learning the shocking life their kids had been living for the past few months. Some had been under Jeremy's horrifying influence for over a year. The twins' grandmother, their primary carer, only found out about Jeremy the night her granddaughters were rescued.
And then I got a call that they were all in the car. There was six of them, and was with this guy. And so I had no clue.
Some had been violated, others had been abused in other ways, and force-fed alcohol at the ages of just over 10. He was the worst kind of internet predator one can imagine. But Jeremy wasn't done disgusting people, even from prison.
The district attorney's office is looking into allegations that a rape suspect is contacting his victim from behind bars. That is what the grandmother of one of the victims is saying about 41-year-old Jeremy Guthrie.
This is sickening. From behind bars, Jeremy made a deal with a guard who allowed him to use his phone to contact the twin sisters. Jeremy also had the audacity to reach one of the sisters via Instagram and ask her to send money for food. "Jeremy, I ain't got none on my books, RN. Can you send me some bread for food? Sister, LMAO, you ain't getting for all I give, AF." You guys, I love her attitude. "It should be prohibited for you to text me. Are you done texting or what? Hey, you little guard, you just lost your job. My grandma and the police are on their way over there, so have fun. And tell Jeremy to eat a honey bun, not bread. And you might be eating those with him, so have fun." Yep, the last 2 texts were for the guard who allowed Jeremy to use his phone. She knew she had the power now, and she knew a guard shouldn't side with a child rapist. Hopefully, he did lose his job.
He's in jail. How the heck is all this happening when he's in jail? Like, that's crazy.
It's truly scary to think what people are lurking on the internet, scoping out vulnerable kids. It's easier than ever to hide behind a cute profile picture, whether it's catfishing or just using a kid's avatar. And when you're 12, it's pretty hard to notice all the red flags before it's too late. It's also pretty heartbreaking that none of the kids' families noticed any flags either. Why didn't anyone question the girl's pregnancy? She was only 12. Why did no one find out something dark was happening with their child? Why did no one report Jeremy to the police earlier? It really seems like these poor children were let down by several adults in their lives. Also, what's up with the way this officer questioned the kids once Jeremy was taken out of the car?
How old are you? And don't lie to me. I mean, okay, like I'm not gonna play the game where you lie. I know that you're not 18. Okay. So if you want to have attitude, you in the front. Okay. We go about it another way. Simple as that.
I'm not a cop, but I wouldn't talk like this to children who might have been abused.
So if I sense any attitude or you give me lip, we'll do it another way. How old are you? Just your age. That's all I need is your age. Cool. Then I guess what? Everybody goes to juvie. Simple as that. I care less who you are. I'll book all 6 of you guys under Jane or John Doe.
His threats got a few kids talking.
Okay, how old are you? 14. Thank you. Simple question.
14.
Really 14?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But I can only speculate on how the girls who had gone through literal hell felt when their rescuer spoke to them that way. One final tragic twist. Some of the kids in the car were friends with Jeremy's own kids.
This guy to anybody.
That's our homies. And then she knows his kid.
Okay.
Yep, he had kids the same age as the ones he'd abused. Imagine learning your dad is a serial child abuser. Could you live with that for the rest of your life? It's shocking to think how many lives Jeremy destroyed, from the 6 poor kids to his own kids, and all the families affected by this. And yet he feels no remorse. He pleaded no contest, and the case is ongoing. Hopefully Jeremy Guthrie will get a long enough sentence to make him think about the pain he'd caused. And if he truly has no conscience, at least he'll be off the streets. We have yet to see if Jeremy's victims will get the justice they deserve. Either way, it'll be a long time until they're able to recover from this trauma and have healthy relationships as adults. It's a scary world we live in. Can we keep our kids and young loved ones safe from people like Jeremy? Should we control their social media or teach them to look out for creeps and trust their intuition? Thanks for watching, you guys. What do you think about this case? What sentence is appropriate for Jeremy Guthrie? Write me a thoughtful comment, and before you leave, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell button. See you next time, and stay safe.